Good day, everyone. This is Lord Danavan Hylton, always congratulating you in advance for your continued success. And thank you for joining us today to discuss how you can continue to be the top executive that you are and will continue to become. So I just wanted to show my face real quick because we're going to jump right into the story, the takeaways, and the free gifts. So let's go ahead and jump into this presentation. All right, so it's real simple. Using emotional intelligence to conquer the corporate world. I repeat, using emotional intelligence to conquer the world. Again, this is Lord Danavan Hylton, congratulating you in advance for your continued success. So what we're going to accomplish today is just three simple things. First, I want to share my story, which is my journey of becoming a respected community engagement and business development expert and consultant. While I share my story, I also want to deliver 6 takeaways that you can actually begin to use in your practice of emotional intelligence to conquer the personal world and your life. And what I would like to do as well is make sure you receive a free gift and ensure that you and I are able to stay connected as the both of us continue to grow our brands. So before I tell my story, I just want you to keep in mind 3 key things. Everything that I do within my personal life and really within your personal life and your personal and professional experience, for the most part, we're managing relationships. Always keep that in mind. When we're going through our personal and professional lives, we're building our brands, we are managing relationships. And keep in mind, in my story, as I tell this thing, the value and attitude that I have for myself, the vision that I have in my heart and my mind determines my future. And I've always had my attitude, my values, and vision for myself at the highest expectations well before the age of 21, which is where my story starts. And so this thought process has helped me to become a better decision maker during my journey, especially during the uncomfortable experiences, as you'll see through my story. And so the first takeaway that I can offer is to identify, when we're talking about conquering the corporate world, you want to identify your short-term and long-term goals for your personal life and your career, because this is going to help you as you go through your ups and downs. And so starting my story, keep in mind, if you didn't know, I was homeless. In 2008, I was homeless. That's correct. 21 years old, life was good. Southern California, had my own place. I was working as an admissions representative, hosting basketball tournaments, camps, and clinics in Southern California. Had a girlfriend. She had 3 part-time jobs. She had her own apartment, paying rent, attended the university full-time. Life was great. But unfortunately, in 2008, age of 21, my girlfriend, she was 20. The economy slowed down. The city went bankrupt. I was laid off as an admissions representative because I was one of the younger folks and I didn't have a mortgage nor a family. So, you got to make those tough decisions. And I was one of the first ones to be laid off in my department. And I was getting more and more parents calling me saying I can no longer have my son or daughter in your basketball program. And soon I found myself evicted from my home. And through the grace, my girlfriend allowed me to move in with her. Now, when I got settled in, she was getting laid off from her jobs back to back to back. Keep in mind, the economy really slowed down. I didn't even know anything about the economy. I was just going to school, hustling, and making money. She was going to school. Didn't know anything about the economy. I didn't know that stuff slowed down. So she was evicted from her job, laid off from her jobs, eventually became evicted from her apartment. Then both of our cars broke down and we found ourselves catching the bus. And we're like, what is going on? We've never had any challenges in life. We've always tried to help and be of servitude. And now all of a sudden we're evicted from our places. Our cars are broken down. We're catching the bus and we're bouncing around from motel to motel and trying to find a place within, between our families that are nice enough to open their homes and keep them. And so eventually my girlfriend's mom and sister found out about the hardships. They were talking to, my girlfriend and said, hey, why don't you guys come to Nashville? And so it was something that we've never considered, coming from Southern California with the beach, the Lakers, all that good stuff. But again, we found ourselves in a tough spot. She hadn't seen her family, her mom and her sister in over 15 years. She was raised by her dad. But it got to a point where we had $150 to our name. And so we decided to go ahead and make that move. So at 21 years of age, myself, my girlfriend being 20, we took our $150, went to the casino, and we made $600 from the craps table. And fun fact, I hadn't made any money from the casino since. And so we bought airplane tickets that night. We're rushing to the airport. We're running late, and we get to the check-in. We're showing our tickets. They're saying it's going to be an additional $200. I said, no, ma'am, I already paid my ticket. Here's my receipt. She said, oh, no, you have these bags with you. We have this thing called luggage fees. I didn't know anything about it. So we found ourselves in the middle of the airport, taking all our clothes out of the bag. We walked on the airplane to Nashville with about 8 layers of clothes on each and a carry-on bag each. And so my second takeaway from my story is professional growth requires a challenge. And you're going to need to have patience and faith. And so my story is beginning. I've always had a story, but when it came to my professional growth, I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I could believe in myself and conquer anything that I put my mind to. And at that time, at 21, I was serving as hosting basketball tournaments and camps and clinics. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm working as an admissions representative at a college. I'm learning skill sets. So I felt like things were good, but there was more in store for my life. And so this is where the personal growth and the challenges began. And if we're talking about conquering the corporate world, which is a physical entity, a physical situation, you also have to know that there's a balance in everything. So you have to have the spiritual side just as much as the physical when you're talking about conquering something physical, which is the corporate world, which is patience and faith. Got to have those things. That's one of the things you have to keep in mind, and that's our second takeaway. So my experience in Nashville, let's go ahead and talk about that. So in December 2008, we made it to Nashville. It was the middle of the night. We got in, we got settled in. And the next day I went and traveled on the bus around Nashville. I noticed, wow, this is the actual city. You know, I thought it was a cow town with farms and meadows and all that stuff and cows grazing. And come to find out it was the actual city. And come to find out that the housing at the time was about $100,000 in great neighborhoods with great school systems for all colors, if you will. And so I said, wow, this city has definitely not been touched, coming from the Los Angeles area and seeing what maximum performance of a metropolitan city could be. And I knew that back in 2008 at 21, and come to find out, according to Forbes in 2019, it was one of the best places for business and career development. And so I was fortunate, again, with the spiritual side rocking and rolling, to be placed in a growing environment. Now, as I made it into Nashville, 2 weeks later of coming into Nashville, found out I had my first son on the way. So now here I am in Nashville, 21, living with my girlfriend's sister and mother and nieces and grandmother, and $15 in my pocket from just making it off the airplane. I got a child on the way. I said, "Oh Lord, what is going on?" But again, you gotta continue with that faith. And I found myself quickly getting a job, and I served as a janitor and worked in customer service just to put some money in my pocket and to get things going. And so I'm working, and again, I had this child on the way. And in 2019, someone told me, "Hey, Donovan," because I always conducted myself in a professional manner, even as a janitor in customer service. Someone said, "Hey, Donovan, you can get a financial aid check if you enroll into this career college." Didn't know anything about it. And I said, you know what? I need the money. I got a child on the way. And you know what? I can get a business management degree. Let me go ahead and pursue that. And so I'll never forget the day that I had my interview to be enrolled in the college. I talked to my girlfriend. At this time, we just moved into a public housing site because we were eligible. I could be vulnerable in this situation. We were eligible because we had a child on the way. So we were able to get to this public housing site and moved in. And I said, "Babe, I'm going to this career college to be enrolled into the school. Do you feel I should wear my good jeans and iron them up in a nice t-shirt, or should I put on my suit?" She said, "Dress how you feel comfortable." And I was on my way out the door in my jeans, and they were ironed up real nice. I said, "No, I want them to take me seriously." So I went back inside, put on my Goodwill suit. My jacket was too big, my pants were too small, but I looked professional, and I went to the interview at the career college. Sat down with the director of admissions, and I was telling my story as to why I should be enrolled in the college. The director of admissions cut me off and said, "Excuse me, young man, I don't mean to interrupt you, but you seem like a well-spoken, well-dressed young man. Have you ever thought about a career in admissions?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, I just let go of someone yesterday, and I think you'll be perfect for the job. And instead of actually walking you around to enroll you in the college, into the school, I think I should walk you around and meet the department heads and the instructors to see if you're interested in taking the job." So he walked me around and shared my story. And by the end of the day, when I made it back home, my girlfriend said, "Babe, did you enroll in the college?" I said, "Babe, they offered me a job." And 3 days later, I was sitting down at that desk. And as I was signing into the system, the director of admissions came and dropped a stack of papers on my desk and said, "Hey, can you fill this out?" And it was an application. I was blown away. And 9 months later, now I got the job because I don't have a college degree, but because I worked as an admissions representative at a college in California for a year, I was eligible for the job. And I got the job in California because someone told me that this new university had opened up and they thought I'd be great for the job. At that time, my car had broke down, so I took the bus to that college in California, and I was hired pretty much that same day by the director because it was a new college trying to get their brand off the ground. So I was able to have a year experience to get this job in Nashville. So now I'm rocking and rolling, and my son is born. I have a pretty decent, obviously, career going. And 9 months later of me starting the job, the director of admissions took a position in Florida. So now there was an empty director of admissions position. And I didn't think I was eligible for the job. The people that had degrees, masters, worked there for years and were older than me. I was excited just to be working with a suit on in a nice air-conditioned office, not pushing boxes around the warehouse, which I would normally have to do. So I just gave everything I had. And I'll never forget the regional director of admissions and the campus director called me into the office and said, "Danavan, we want to offer you this director of admissions job." And I said, "Why me?" They said, "Danavan, you've been working at the director of admissions level without getting paid for it, and we think you'll be great for the job." Now, I'm sure because I was younger, there was a huge decrease in pay in their eyes, but at the same time, for me, it was an opportunity. So I took the job. And in 2011, I was baptized along with my girlfriend who believed in me and pushed me to go after my goals. And we were married. And fun fact, this April 2021, we'll have our 10-year wedding anniversary. And with that being said, our third takeaway is your current state does not define you. Know where you are going and look the part. So please, first you have to have faith, and the patience was the takeaway. But once you have the faith, you have to know that things will work out and walk in that manner. And this is a testimony right there. So let's keep going on with my experience. 2012, life is good. Half the student body was at my wedding. They saw me crying when I was giving my vows. And now life is good. We end up in 2012 having twins. And I had 6 weeks, had an opportunity to take 6 weeks off with the Medical Leave Act. And I had a great time hanging out with my family. And, we were saved, had money saved up, and we were relaxing and laughing. And I'll never forget, after my 6 week, I came back to work. My 6 week came back to work, and I worked for 2 months. I just wasn't happy. I love what I did, and I was appreciative, but I wasn't happy. And one day I talked to my wife and said, "Babe, look, I feel like if I don't go after what I want to do and be an entrepreneur, after finding out that I can't handle the corporate world to some setting, that if I don't go after my dreams, that when my sons get older, all three boys, when my sons get older, I just won't have time to pursue my goal of, starting a business and creating that financial freedom." And so with the support of my wife, which is very important when you have a team, I ended up resigning as a director of admissions. The career college didn't like that because I was rocking and rolling for them, and ended up starting my own business, my own marketing business, and with my savings. And from there, I started hosting job fairs at public housing sites to include the housing site where we resided. And I had that same career college come down, and the human resource career service department come down to help people fill out or learn how to complete a resume, how to find a job, how to get a job, how to keep a job. We ended up I went knocking door to door to the businesses. We had 22 businesses stop by. We had about 40 same day hires, 20 interviews at the housing site. We had about 30 second interviews scheduled because people were interviewed that day. And then we also had about 15 to 20 first time interviews scheduled for the next day. And I'll never forget, it was a great experience. And also during the same time, I was raising funds for nonprofits. The way that the need that I saw were these nonprofits doing great work in low income communities, and they needed help connecting to the money. And so I used my skill set to connect to corporations to see if they could donate money. And I would always hear these corporations say, hey, do you work for these nonprofits, or who do you work for? Because we need to do a better job of connecting to these nonprofits as a corporation. And you definitely have a niche and a skill. I heard that a lot, but the problem was I didn't have a business model, which is how I made my money. It was all commission based, and I would work, and sometimes things would fall through, and I didn't make any money. So eventually I depleted my savings and I had to find a job. And so between 2013 and 2015, as I was building my brand through grassroots marketing, I worked odd jobs to pay the bills, to include serving as a van driver for a church after-school program, transporting kids. And I also served as a bellhop at a high-end hotel in downtown Nashville. But again, all things work for good, because during that experience, I learned the art of hospitality. I'm dealing with upset kids, jumping around the van, not following directions. I'm dealing with upset hotel guests because they're not getting their needs met. So I really at that time learned the art of hospitality. And hospitality is just simply a friendly reception and entertainment of guests, visitors, and strangers. And so I learned how to put that face on, if you will, and to make sure that everybody felt welcome and appreciated. And pretty soon I was offered a management position at the hotel because there were so many people giving great reviews about me. Didn't take the job because I wanted to focus on my career of being an entrepreneur. But my fourth takeaway is everyone is a customer or a team member or a potential customer and a team member. Keep in mind, we're talking about conquering the corporate world as an executive. Being an executive is a lifestyle. It doesn't matter where you are at this point. Once you put in your mind who you are and where you're going with your short and long-term goals, start walking in that. And at the same time, as an executive, you're thinking about your customer base, and you're thinking about your staff. And you never know who's going to be who when you run into them or what's going to be in the future. So you shine and give the best of light and inspiration to everybody that you meet. So after a while, I start to see my calling, still no true salary coming in. At this point, I'm raising funds for nonprofits, doing these job fairs. Someone said, Donovan, look, your council member in your district just termed out. He can't run no more. You should run for city council. Didn't know anything about it. Didn't know about politics. I couldn't tell you the three branches of government. I tried to stay away from the government. I didn't want to be involved with the police. Nothing. I said, I don't want to do this. But they said, Donovan, we need individuals like you in the community. Based upon my community service work and the skills that I was using to connect individuals to the corporations, nonprofits to corporations. So I decided to run for city council. Had 31 votes and about $1,100 in contributions to my campaign. Came in last in the votes. But there's two things that happened during that experience. One, I was offered a job as a director of marketing and community engagement for a staffing company. And I'll get into that story real quick. My campaign manager said, Donovan, hey, let's do our work in the community. So we decided one day to have a meeting at a Starbucks. And as I was sitting down, one of the managers, who happened to be the district manager that day, was running around with a chicken with her head cut off. And one of my team members said, what's wrong? And the lady said, I have these baristas, which are waiters, and they keep quitting on me. It's $7 an hour, but you get training for 4 years in college to where you can get a degree in 4 years. One of my team members said, well, my friend here used to host job fairs, and he's running for city council. Maybe he can help you. She said, can you really? Here's my card. If you can find somebody, please let me know. So the next day, I went to the staffing company down the street, walked in, talked to the front desk and said, hey, look, Starbucks is looking for some waiters, if you will. You're a staffing company, and I'm running for city council, so I want to help you get your business off the ground or continue to roll, and can you help me? The front desk said, do you work for Starbucks? I said, no. Who do you work for? I work for myself. I didn't tell them I worked at the hotel. I still have my business going. So the front desk went to the owner who happened to be there that day. The owner came back around and said, who are you with? I said, I represent myself. I'm running for city council, but Starbucks are looking for some waiters. And he said, can I talk to you? So we went down to his office. We sat down, and he picked my brain about the territory that I was doing business with, all the community leaders, and just the trends going on in that community. And by the time I left out of that meeting, he wrote a $500 check and gave me 2 Skybox tickets to a semi-professional baseball game and said, hey, I want to hire you. I don't know how quite yet, but come back and see me next week. Talked to my wife. She negotiated a deal. Our insurance was not up to date with our business, and I was strapped for cash. We said, you know what? Just work for me for a year at least, and I'll show you how money's made so you can pursue your career. And I got a job through my campaigning with this staffing company. And after the campaign was over, The person ended up winning the council seat, pulled me to the side and said, Donovan, hey, nobody really knows who you are. They love your energy, but that's why you didn't get no votes. I just won the council seat. I would love for you to serve as the new committee member that I can no longer serve on for this county party, And I didn't know anything about this, about county political parties and a committee member and technically you're an elected official. So I decided, you know what, because I want to be more involved in the political process in my community, I'll serve as the executive committee member. My first meeting there, I was voted to serve as the regional vice chair of that county party, where I oversaw 7 councilmatic districts. And at that time, I became the go-to person for employment. And all the community leaders coming to me to find jobs, I became the go-to person for civic engagement when it came to just the challenges, the socioeconomic challenges that were happening in the territory. And during that time, I had to also learn how to satisfy my employer, because I was always in the community, and that's what my employer/client wanted. But his team that were working the traditional job didn't understand what I did and how I did it, and they used to get upset with me. And I think maybe they were jealous or something. I don't know. But my thing was, I'm reporting to this person that put me on, which was the boss. And one of the things I had to learn was, in order for the boss or the client or the employer to be happy, I had to make sure that his staff was happy. So I wanted to be mindful and respectful of what they were doing. And so during my political and campaign experience, I also learned there was a huge gap. I represented the party, but it was a huge gap in communication with another party. So I had to go ahead and start bridging those gaps. The bottom line is, the takeaway to this story here is takeaway number 5. Taking on larger challenges is the moment that sticks to your brand and it makes your career. If I didn't take on these larger challenges and go after campaigning, I would never got the job. I never would have became an elected official for my county and thus created my brand even more. So now at this point, it's 2017, we're going and things are good. And eventually in 2017, the employer, who was a great mentor of mine, came to me and said, Donovan, look, I think we've done all we can. Maybe his budget was tight, and one of the first things that go is marketing. I think we've done all we can. I think at this point, I want you to, go back into being an independent contractor and working your own business and helping other employers so that you can expand and grow, because you never want to stay stagnant. So at that time, I had some money saved up, and I went on ahead and started my own business with my wife, Hylton Elite Marketing Agency. It's a full-service sales and marketing firm. And our focus is to increase the customer base and community presence of our clients in Nashville that focused on employment, urban core development, local business, and international business. These were the things that were rocking and rolling in Nashville. And I was able to find a need in business development and community relations. And so I started this business. There were a lot of growing pains as I, start this business, and started to learn a business model. Now it's 2-3 years later, I learned what a business model is. I have a little more experience. And some of the growing pains included, what I did and being able to explain what I did and how I did it to others. And it's a little different because when you're working for someone and you have great CEOs that work for someone, you have great CEOs that work for themselves. But in this case, I was becoming an executive for myself compared to being an executive for an employer, which was great training. But being an executive for yourself, you realize that you go from following directions, if you will, to creating directions. And they're two different things. So the challenges that we're going through now is transitioning from self-employment to managing a team. Business is growing, our clientele is growing. Now we're learning to manage operating budgets. And my wife and I are building and developing strategic plans for growth. And we now have a satellite office in London, and we are now a multinational corporation. I apologize. And another fun fact, because my wife is so cool, I'm also registered as a lord, and my wife is registered as a lady in England and Wales because we own land in Scotland. I have some bloodline that traces back to that country, and my wife surprised me with some land in Scotland. And because we are landowners and we have a multinational corporation, we are deemed lords and ladies, and we became registered. And our next goal is to change our licenses from Mr. and Mrs. to Lord and Lady as we move forward. So takeaway number 6, success is measured by self-growth. Success is measured by self-growth. And you do not grow by yourself. First of all, you grow by those that are placed in your life. So as I grew and wanted to be eager to learn, there were people that came in. And that's how really the whole pot melts. And now for that, we're going to talk about emotional intelligence, because that's really how all this became possible. Because again, keep in mind, I was managing relationships, managing people. Sometimes I was a janitor, sometimes I was a bellhop, sometimes I was working for as a director, sometimes I was representing nonprofits. But it all used emotional intelligence. And this is what you need to have if you're going to conquer the corporate world. So, and how I did it was I managed myself, the relationships I was given, and I led by example how I wanted society and the corporate world to view me, the brand I wanted to create, and the team of people I had a chance to work with. I wanted that brand and that culture to be strong and to be seen and apparent. And again, that's because I had that mindset of my short-term and long-term goals way before I got into all this. So when I knew that I wanted to do something and where I wanted to go, so when those opportunities came, I picked it up and ran with it because of my mindset. So the results did not happen overnight. You know, I must continue to create a culture of customer service, relationship management for those around me. And again, this is all managing relationships. So real quickly, what is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is the capacity to be aware of, control, and express one's emotions and to handle communication between people with good judgment, good sense, and with the ability to step out into the shoes of another person and understand their feelings and perspectives to guide your actions. The big takeaways from that is the personal accountability. You must be aware of your emotions. You must control your emotions. You must express your emotions. These are things that you can practice at home with your family and your friends, and obviously with your coworkers and your staff and your teammates. That's the personal accountability that you have to focus on. Then there's also a professional accountability and emotional intelligence that you have to focus on. That's handling the communication between people with good judgment and good sense. So now that you're aware of your emotions, you know you're hot, your teammate just messed up, or you were short on a deadline, you're hot. But first of all, you're aware that you're hot. You're worried, you're upset. Now you're able to better control your emotions, and then you're able to express your emotions in a way that your team or your partner can receive that information and feel like they can still maximize production. Because people do not forget. They're going to remember every experience, and those are the little steps that you go through in order for the long journey ahead. You build and manage those relationships, and for that reason, you create a culture when you are able to put yourself in someone else's shoes and understand their feelings. You create a culture of, dang, I like that person. I want to make sure I can do all I can to help that person and be around them, especially when you're putting in action. That's the public accountability that will end up being manifested. That's the culture we're looking to create. And so for that reason, when we're using emotional intelligence to conquer the corporate world, we want to take control, which is to conquer the corporate world. And everything is corporate because life is taking care of business. Your personal life is your business. So you want to conquer the corporate world and your personal life. Take control of that thing. And you must own your personal, professional, and public accountability to create a culture that works for you and that gives the corporate world no choice but to honor, which is to respect how you want the corporate world to value and view you as an executive, which is a human being. This is how you create a professional brand of standards and communication outwardly and inwardly. So this concludes the presentation. I congratulate you again in advance for your continued success. At this point, I want you to follow the link, click the link, www.mindyoureq.com. Take advantage of the free ebooks, take advantage of the written articles, the short videos, all dealing with emotional intelligence. And there's a link in there as well for you to become a friend of Express, because I want to make sure that you're connected to my network to grow your business and to grow your brand. Again, this is Danavan Hylton. My apologies, Lord Danavan Hylton. And I'm here with Lady Malika. She's not here, but Malika Hylton, she's not here, but I could not have done this without her. We are Hylton Elite Marketing Agency. Thanking you for your time. We will see you at the top. And remember, we're more than just marketing. Grace.